craft nearly kills Neil Armstrong. Astronaut Bill Anders had flown the same vehicle just hours earlier.
The thing flamed out. The attitude control system ran out of fuel, and so Neil was flopping around there and just managed to get out of it. He was very lucky because this thing was just on its main engine with no attitude control, and it was getting close to the ground, and it just kind of rolled out, and Neil looked like he came out of the fireball. And it did look like he went back into the fireball with his parachute, but he landed just beyond it.
4 of these earthbound trainers are used. 3 will crash, but the actual lunar modules land safely every time.
There's good dust. Okay, down, looking great. 60 seconds. 40 feet. 3 feet per second.
America's first astronaut, Alan Shepard, returns to spaceflight 10 years later to command Apollo14's LEM and Terry's to a skillful set-down.
We're on the surface. Okay, we made a good landing.
Apollo 14 is on the moon almost 34 hours. About a third of that time is spent moonwalking in the lunar highlands.
Certainly the Fra Mauro area where we landed was an interesting place, and with far more relief up and down of the terrain than the earlier flights, which also made the navigation a little more difficult. Particularly, it was kind of like wandering around in the sand dunes, and one sand dune looks about like the other. So finding our landmarks that the geologists wanted us to find as we did our traverse on foot to Cone Crater was difficult.
I'm going to try a little sand trap shot here.
But Shepard manages a few seconds to become not only America's first man in space, but also its first golfer.
Miles and miles and miles.
2 miles is all the Apollo 14 astronauts are able to walk during their 2 EVAs. But the next mission will have wheels.
This is really a rock and rollin' ride, isn't it? That's one small step for man. Beautiful, beautiful. Isn't that something?
I was in Orlando, in my parents' house, and as the first pictures came through, we were, of course, all just very enthusiastic and enthralled with what was happening.
One diaphragm for mankind. Okay, Houston, as I stand out here in the wonders of the unknown in Hadley, I try to realize there's a fundamental truth to our nature. Man must explore.
When Apollo 15 Commander Dave Scott descends the LEM's ladder 2 years after Neil Armstrong, he achieves his own first. Scott climbs aboard the first lunar rover with crewmate Jim Irwin, and, as space's first motorist, proceeds to peel out.
This is really a rock and rollin' ride, isn't it? Never been on a ride like this before. Oh boy. I'm glad they got this great suspension system on this thing.
More than just a toy, the moon buggy is a science platform, allowing astronauts to venture farther from the LEM than the previous 3 Apollo missions. During 10.5 hours, Scott and Irwin cover 17 miles and examine many interesting sights.
A boulder exposed to the surface here, which has got layering within it. It's been weathered away, apparently, and just the surface top is exposed, but the boulder must be about a meter long with 2 to 3 inch layers in it.
Working in a suit is very fatiguing. You don't get the food, the water, the rest. So actually we were not only probing the boundaries of geology and exploration, we were also probing the boundaries of human performance. The Apollo 15 mission really took us back to the drawing board in several areas to look at how we train crews, how we provide them adequate nutrition and hydration and all of these things.
Hey, John, this is perfect with the LEM and the rover and you and Stone Mountain and the old flag. Come on out here and give me a salute. Big Navy salute.
In the summer of 1972, Apollo 16 astronauts John Young and Charlie Duke spend 20 hours searching for volcanic rock and the Descartes Highlands.
Charlie, set form.
Oh, Stephen. How about that? I'm going out for the ballet when I get back. You learn another line of work up here.
Because of the geological diversity of the moon, they wanted to get some samples from the mountains of the moon, if you will, or the highlands, which was a considerable elevation above the Luna Mare.
That is the most beautiful sight. What's that? You're standing there on the rim of that crater.
Well, it's great to have a lunar rover. When you turn wheels, the front wheels would go this way and the rear wheels would go that way, so you could turn in your own diameter. And because of all the holes on the moon, you need to be able to do that.
Ah, here he comes, folks. He's got the hammer out. I knew he couldn't resist.
I don't know if this will work or not, Shirley, but it couldn't pick a better spot. Here we go.
Hot dog. He did it. It's a very friable rock, apparently, Houston.
Okay, outstanding.
Science was certainly in the front seat. Of the 6 landings on the moon, the last 3, I think, were devoted completely to the science of it.
We'll sample right there and get you a scoopful of this underlying regolith.
There'll be just one more flight to the moon. Apollo lifts off in the midnight hour of December 7th, 1972.
My God, it was like the sun coming up in the middle of the night. I mean, all of a sudden, this golden light, this flame that was the color of a sunrise, just exploding and filling the sky and filling my field of view, and in silence seeing this rocket ascend, and then without anticipating it, this roar of sound that just swept over us. It was absolutely spectacular. I mean, I've seen launches since then, but I don't think anything can compare with knowing that you're seeing 3 people who are on their way to the moon.
Okay, stand by for pitch over. Oh, are we coming in? Oh, baby. And there it is, Houston. There's Camelot. High on target. I see it.
Being the last mission, we built on all the other missions before us. And so our landing site was in the northeastern edge of the moon, which was off-center. We landed in a valley, the Valley of Torres Litro, that was surrounded by mountains on 3 sides, higher than the Grand Canyon is deep. About, I don't know, give or take 20 miles long and maybe 5 miles across.
Okay, Houston, the Challenger has landed.
Roger, Challenger, that's super.
Houston, you can tell America that Challenger is at Torres Litro.
We landed within a couple hundred feet of our landing site. Pretty exciting.
Hippity hopping over hill and dale. Da 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 da. Hippity hopping along.
If America's moon missions must end with Apollo 17, Commander Gene Cernan makes it memorable.
Can you use the other end against the right side of the rock? I'll press it. Oh,
His partner, Jack Schmidt, is the only trained geologist to fly to the moon. At times, his mission zeal overtakes his ability to traverse the terrain.
No, dadgummit. Well, hey, Gene, would you go over and help twinkle toes, please, Gene? Really?
Well, working on the moon is a lot of fun. I mean, it's like walking around on a giant trampoline all the time, and you're just as strong as you were here on Earth, but you don't weigh as much. You only weigh 1/6 of what you weigh on the moon, even with a suit. In the backpack, my total weight was only 61 pounds.
Cernan has been to space twice before, including on Apollo 10's lunar orbit checkout of the LEM. Yet Cernan is awestruck by this valley and what hangs in the pitch-black sky overhead.
you have to pinch yourself when you're on the moon. Am I really